Hello, and welcome to Storytime with Scott Boss. Today, we're going to be reading my short story, Color Changing Door. The description is on the video. If you haven't seen it, let's dive in blindly and see what happens. We'll be reading on my giraffe Kindle, and let's get moving. Color Changing Door. Jay and Reggie stared at the bright yellow door. They'd been playing in the yard of the old junk house for years, and the last hour or so on that Saturday afternoon in the fall. It was abandoned, a two-story that was the midway point between a walk between the friends' houses. Dead leaves and branches speckled the roof. A decaying shed sat around the corner, wrapped up in a tangle of bramble. The kids at school liked to say it's where the old groundskeeper still lived. The boys had only ever seen rusted tools inside. "Why would somebody paint it?" asked Reggie, his gaze fixed on the canary shade at the front of the house. "You think they're fixing it up?" His shoulder-length dirt-brown hair blew in the cool breeze. "I hope not," said Jay. "But they need to fix a lot more than the door on this old junker." "Dare you to open it." "I have opened it, dude." Jay patted his chest through his oversized t-shirt. "You were the one who was afraid." Reggie turned from watching the door to challenge his friend. "I was not. I had to get home that day. My sister had a volleyball game." "Huh, volleyball." "So?" Reggie looked back at the door. It was so perfectly yellow with no brush strokes, as if it had always been yellow. "Whatever, dude, if you don't dare." Jay tossed his hands up and strutted the three rickety stairs onto the porch. The house had been vacant for as long as they'd known of it, yet it still gave him the creeps to be that close. He felt Reggie's eyes on him and didn't dare to turn back. His hand rested on the handle for a second, feeling the cold metal, then he pushed it down. Jay had secretly hoped it would be locked so he could give up and get off the porch, but it clicked loose and opened a few inches as he let go. Jay took a step back. "You coming up here or what, wuss?" said Jay, waiting, as if something would jump out at any second. "What's in there?" asked Reggie. Jay gave a half-hearted look in the opening. "Just an old house." Reggie joined him on the porch, and Jay stepped aside so his longtime friend could peer in. "It's bright," said Reggie. "Are there lights on?" "I don't know, dude. I just opened it. You go in." Reggie stepped close enough to send a heel into the door, swinging it the rest of the way. Their mouths dropped open. "What the hell?" said Reggie. The fall was already biting in Michigan, overcast days and bitter winds. But before the two boys was a bright blue sunny sky, a sprawling field of tall sunflowers bent their faces to soak in the rays. "Is that behind the house?" asked Jay. "I don't—" Reggie looked up at the sky. He could swear he was feeling heat off the doorway. "Must be," said Jay. He stepped into the doorframe, craning his neck to check it out. "This is so weird." Then he was in the grass, waving Reggie to follow. Reggie did slowly. "Where's the rest of the house?" Reggie asked. "Dude, look at this." Jay had disappeared into the field. There was a small walking path down a hill from the doorway that Reggie followed. Soon they were both swallowed into the green. Reggie caught up to Jay 20 feet in. "I never knew this was back here," said Jay. "It's not," said Reggie. "We've been behind this house before. And where were the walls, the upstairs, the back door?" Jay laughed, shaking a sunflower by the stalk. "I don't know, but if we're not behind the house, where are we?" Reggie looked back. He had to squint in the sunlight. The door was out of sight. "I don't know, dude, but we should probably get back." Jay looked down the path. It seemed to go on forever. "Let's just see what's back here." He started walking again. "It's just more sunflowers. Come on, man." Reggie stumbled after him. The path led down a hill. The sunflowers still rose on all sides, but the ground was turning muddy. Reggie looked back and felt his heart leap in his chest. "Jay, look!" Jay turned around, annoyed at first and until he saw what freaked out Reggie. "Whoa, it's dark." They stood watching the dark clouds move in on the path they'd come down, like the sky was split, sun and blue skies ahead, darkness behind. "We should go back," said Reggie, twisting a corner of his shirt in his hand. "We'd be walking right into a rainstorm. Let's just keep this way a little more. We'll probably end up by the rec center. Reggie couldn't argue with that logic. The rec center was on that end of the house if you continued past the house, but somehow he didn't think they'd be seeing the familiar cracked sidewalks that led to the half pipe in the rec center's parking lot. Still, the way ahead was sunny and warm, so they went. The sunflowers surrounded them in perfect rows. They rose at least 7 feet. Jay pulled one down to him, sniffed it, then plucked it, tucking the stem through his belt loop. The path turned up and continued to a peak. There was finally a break in the greenery ahead. Rolling green hills lay where the sunflowers stopped. The boys stood shoulder to shoulder again, struggling for words. "This isn't the rec center," said Reggie. Jay's eyes were peeled. "I know." There were 3 large mounds, one ahead and 2 flanking it, each one 50 yards from the other. The landscape behind them trailed off and turned white not far past, like the edge of a page of notebook paper. On each grassy mound was a door, standing on its own. They were far enough away to look small, but close enough to see they were each a different color. The one straight ahead was red. On its left was green, and the far right was blue. Reggie looked back and jumped, grabbing Jay's shoulder. "Look!" The storm had moved in behind them. It was then they noticed it didn't make a sound. The only noise in the field had been their footfalls, and now that they stopped, it was eerily quiet, despite the rain pelting the path they'd taken. "We should just go," said Jay. "Go? Go where? Back?" "No, I'm not walking into that. Let's pick a door." "Are you serious? They're just doors. They can't go anywhere." "Well, we're not walking back through that." Jay motioned to the storm, only 20 feet away. It swayed the sunflowers, toppling some in its silent fury. "Okay, so—" Reggie stopped when he saw Jay taking off straight ahead. He looked at the storm one more time, then began running after Jay. Within a minute they reached the red door. The storm had covered the field of sunflowers completely. Jay's hand was on the handle. Reggie wanted to tell him to wait, to think about it first. But it was just a door in the middle of a field. Where could it possibly go? Then it was open. Reggie saw bare trees and withered grass inside. Just ahead were 3 steps. Jay looked back at him. "Coming?" Reggie's fists were balled up. "Coming where? It's just a door." "Then come on if it's just a door." Jay stepped through. His head was on a swivel. "We're here?" "What do you mean?" said Reggie, gripping the door frame as he followed. They stood on the porch of the old junk house again. They were back where they'd started that Saturday, playing in the yard of the abandoned house on Riley Street. Jay went down the stairs first, then Reggie, and they turned to look back from where they'd come. "Did we just get turned around or something?" asked Reggie. "We must have." Jay was blinking to make sense of it all. "I don't remember it." "Why's the door red?" asked Reggie. "Because we just came through it. It was red, remember? I mean, at the end of the field it was, but it was yellow when we went in." Jay looked around, pulling the sunflower out of his belt loop and giving it a curious look. He shook the thought away with a shiver. "Whatever, dude, we're here." Then he looked at his watch. "I've got to go. I told Cindy I'd meet her after she was done with dance." "Okay, but that—" Reggie swirled a finger at the house. "That was weird, right?" Jay patted him on the shoulder. Sure it was. I'll see you later." The next day they met back at the house early. Reggie watched Jay pacing the yard when he arrived. Jay's shirt was snug against his body, as if he'd borrowed it from a little brother he didn't have. "Dude," said Reggie, "things are—" "She broke up with me," said Jay. "Cindy?" "She acted like we hadn't been dating for the last 6 months, like I was nothing to her." "Were you late or something? Did she not like the flower?" "The flower, that's another story." Jay stopped and shook his head, staring at the grass, trying to make sense of it. "She said I was a nice guy and all, but that we'd never dated. She just knew me from school. I tried to get her mom to tell me what was going on, and she told me to leave, that she was going to call Cindy's dad." "What the hell, man?" Jay leaned on his hand on a tree. "It's just weird. Like, I'd be mad if she broke up with me for some other reason. At least it would make sense." "Yeah, I mean, girls, said Reggie. No, Cindy has never. Jay was fighting back tears and had to turn away from his friend. Well, it's been weird at my house too, said Reggie. My mom's smoking again. That's not weird. Well, and we got a new TV. How is that at all? I'm just saying, usually she talks about that kind of stuff before just doing it. Jay shrugged, and soon both boys were trained on the door to the junk house. I swear it was yellow yesterday, said Reggie. Yeah, it was. So why is it red? It was red when we left. Somebody painted it? Reggie made a face at Jay. Yeah, said Jay, probably not. He found himself walking up the steps to the porch. You think any of this had to do with Cindy being all weird? Any of what? Going in the door? Yeah, just everything feels a little different, like my closet. Reggie joined him on the porch. Were your clothes different too? Jay tugged at his shirt. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Reggie regarded the door with reverence. You think if we go back in and come out the first door, it'll fix things? I don't know. That sounds crazy. But Jay's hand moved towards the handle. Should we see? I really don't think I want to go back in there. Don't you want your mom to quit smoking? Jay smirked back. Oh, come on, this is about Cindy and you know it, said Reggie, following him anyway as the door opened. The TV is nice. They were back on the grassy mound where they first found the red door. The sun beat down and a cool breeze swept across their clothes. Ahead was the storm, sitting, as it had the day before, over the sunflower field. The edge of the field seeped black mud onto the grass outside. We have to go through that? Said Reggie. That's where the first door was. Just a little. Jay's voice cut out mid-word. He was frozen in place. What's that? There was something at the entrance to the path. The sunflowers whipped around it like it was a solid black shadow. There were two and possibly white eyes where it stood. That was all they could make out. What the hell? Said Reggie, then whispering, What is that? I don't know. It doesn't look like it's moving. He watched the eyes for another few seconds. Still, we should just get out of here. But the door. Do you want to go back through that field with whatever's in there? No, but Jay looked to his left at the next mound. It's still in the sunlight. What if we try the blue door? I don't know. Do you think blue's good, right? Reggie could only make quick glimpses at the door. I hope. It's worth a shot. Jay gave a playful punch to Reggie's shoulder. Come on. The boys started a jog down one hill and up another. They took turns watching the field. The eyes followed them but never moved from their place. The boys wasted no time opening the door and jumping in. They were down the steps to the house in a hurry, landing on a stone path to the driveway. We're back, said Jay. What happened? Said Reggie. Look at this place. The junk house was no longer junk. It had nice gray siding and new roof and clean windows. When they'd gone in earlier, there had been weeds growing in the gutters. Now there were just a couple stray leaves. The stone path they stood on was new as well. Dusk was approaching, though they'd entered the house around 10 a.m. and just been inside the red door for not even 10 minutes. This isn't right, said Reggie. It's better, though, said Jay. Maybe that means everything else will be better, too. Maybe, said Reggie. He eyed the car in the driveway. It was parked on the far side, leaving room for another to join it. He wanted to go check it out, see if there was a garage now. If everything else was fixed, and why wouldn't it be? But he wanted to go home even more. Jay watched him ponder. We've got to check. We got to see if it's fixed. Okay, should we? If it's still messed up in the morning, we'll meet back here. Deal. Their hands met in a firm shake that finished with a chest bump. Here's to hoping it's not. Reggie turned to go his way as Jay went his. Part 2, next week. Thanks for listening.